Akufo-Addo speaks after 3 weeks of back and forth, kick and prick, and what many have described as a politicization of a very sensitive security matter. You definitely know what I'm talking about, the Ghana-US military cooperation agreement. Tonight, you'll hear from the first gentleman of the land who has been accused of trading of Ghana's sovereignty for a $20 million security training package. Well, here on JoyNews, we have the build-up to the president's national address, which comes off in less than 5 hours. As we wait, I get feminist. The discussion today is female bias. My guests will join me in the studio shortly. But what are your expectations, and what do you want to hear from the president tonight? Share your comment on our Facebook page, and we'll share them with the rest of the world during the conversation. Well, perhaps a reminder of what has happened so far would do. A public outcry followed a rather fast-tracked parliamentary ratification of a military deal between the United States of America and Ghana 2 weeks ago. And you'd recall this was followed by the Ghana First Patriotic Front demonstration. Thousands showed up in agitation and they spoke.
Because the Akufo-Addo, they sell Ghana $20 million. That is why.
Wait, the Akufo-Addo is what?
They sell the Ghana $20 billion.
They said Akufo-Addo is selling Ghana $20 million.
$20 million from US. That is why I'm demonstrating today. I'm not happy. I'm not happy because the Kwame Nkrumah and so many others, they fight for Ghana. Why the Akufo-Addo they sell Ghana on 2018? They sell Ghana $20 million. So $20 million. That's why Akufo-Addo sell Ghana. Why?
But you'd agree with me that, I mean, in the 21st century, countries are no longer living in isolation. You need to, cooperate with other countries. And America is actually a superpower. You cooperating with them. I mean, there are a lot of benefits to that,
No, there's no benefit in this country from US. I can't need any US, I can't need anything for US. That's simple. The Ghana, the God are blessing this country because the Ghana is mine. It's not mine. Or it's not for Akufo-Addo, it's not for US. Just leave it for Ghana. Simple. Ghana first. All the parliament, they are thinking about the Ghana first. It be simple.
But are you aware that the same agreement was signed, we are told, was signed in the year 1998 and in 2015?
That 1998, the agreement is not for United States, for Ghana. Exactly. That's I'm finished.
If today Kwame Nkrumah happens to come alive again and ask me, what did I do when Ghana is being sold? I'll say I demonstrated, I played my part. Ghana said, you'll be happy with me. How about those who are home? This is very important. You understand?
Is that a message you got, that Ghana is being sold?
Ghana is being sold like a whore, cheaply, like a goat. Can't you see it? You're a journalist, you know better than I do. So you can best explain it to me.
How much are they selling Ghana? Maybe you want to...
$20 million. Muchendi, he has called his finance minister. Other people, I say, Mumbla, yeah.
And you don't, and that's why you demonstrate. That's what you demonstrate against.
My kids, I have a son, and I don't want myself to ask me, Dad, when this thing being sold, you understand? What did you do, Dad? And I'll tell, son, I demonstrated. I vented my anger, both on social media and on the streets. So I've done my part. Yes.
No, a lot of people were not too happy with this, with the ratification of this this cooperation agreement. In fact, we had a group going to Parliament and protest the ratification. Our parliamentarians have ratified it now. Are you disappointed? Are you disenchanted in that decision?
See, we voted for incompetence and bootlickers because the person is my party. My party ideology comes first. My party's interest comes first. But the people in this nation, people who killed and voted for you.
Now let's talk to you. Now you have another term for it, but
it's a horrification. Shit, horrification.
Well, this happened not long ago, just about last week. The organizers intend to replicate this demonstration in other regions across the country. Well, everybody who spoke there seemed to be a man. So today's platform really is for women and it's for mothers. everyday women are here with me in the studio. One of them is Bilkis Giwa. She's a blogger. She likes to be called an equity feminist. Bilkis, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And one of the persons who's supposed to join me in the studio, he's actually running late, is Nana Efuyebuzia. She's founder of the NAP Foundation, an organization that looks out for children and the younger generation. Also, Shamima Muslim will be joining me on the line. She's the convener of Alliance for Women in Media. We'll hear from her. She's a mother as well. Bilkis here is a mother as well. And well, if you think I'm being mother biased, Nana Efuyebuzia is single. She's actually a young lady who will also join us in the studio. We'll also hear from a mother who is a chartered accountant. She sent us a WhatsApp video. You can forgive me for that. Bilkis, let me start with you and find out from you how you assess the discussions so far.
Okay. Unfortunately, the discussions have been a little bit partisan. Now, this is a document that has so much repercussions on the people of Ghana. We are supposed to look at this thing holistically so that we are able to filter what we need to filter out of it. Right. Now, this is a case where instead of government maybe looking at it and telling us what really it entails, it has turned into a political, let's say, jibby-jabber. For now, for lack of a better word. Now, instead of explaining, we have the 2015 signed agreement being peddled all around so that it will seem as if, okay, this one did it, and so and for that matter, they are being hypocritical. Okay, does it change or does it justify what has been signed? That's the question. So let's look at it. Let's look at the documents at hand for now, and also look at what we can do. Is it reviewable? Can it be scrapped? What can it be done? Okay. For me, I'm a mother and I'm a woman. How is this going to affect me? That's my problem. So far, it hasn't been really helpful.
You've not had the answers.
No, we haven't
the sort of questions that
no,
you think
we don't really know much details about the whole thing. We don't really know. All that we know is that the U.S. is going to have an unfettered access to space, airspace, land, wherever. So what we need to do, what I'm expecting from the president to say today is to tell us what we are going to benefit from this. Okay. Because whenever America is involved, America's foreign policy is America, America, and America.
And America first.
Yes. So what is Ghana's benefit from this?
Well, you're getting $20 million in military training package. And to be fair, I spoke to the American ambassador, and he says that he actually thinks that that's quite a substantial amount of money to invest in a country's security. Besides, it sort of gives us a better positioning, you know. So we're looking at a West African region where we've seen Mali. Mali has had attacks. We've seen, you know, Burkina Faso, insurgency in Burkina Faso, etc. But if you have this sort of military capacity, doesn't it put you in a better place to deal with some of these sophisticated terrorism that we've had to deal with in contemporary times?
Unfortunately, you mentioned Mali, you mentioned Burkina Faso. And then
Niger is there as well.
They all have military bases, like what they are bringing here. They all have them. So that should tell you that because they have that thing, that's why they have been targeted. And terrorists have attacked them at a point in time. Okay. So right now that they are bringing this here, if truly that's what is being brought here, we don't really know so much for now.
Well, they're saying that it's not a military base. I mean, we have examples of what it is, but they're saying it's not really a military base. And I'm quite frankly, personally, at a loss as to what is it and how different is it from a military base. I think we require some more answers. But let me allow you to go on with your
Okay, so since you are having this here, what are some of the measures? What are some of the measures being put in place so that we won't have that problem that Mali, Burkina Faso have had in the past because of these kind of arrangements?
So you want to know what it is that Ghana would do differently so that it will not attract the sort of attention that the other African or West African countries have attracted to Ghana. Okay. Exactly. Hold on to me. Let me bring Shamima into this discussion. Okay. Shamima, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I was just asking Bilkis about what she makes of the discussion so far. From a feminist perspective, perhaps you say it's been male biased, but well, I'm interested to find out what you think of the discussion so far.
Very well. Well, I've followed the conversations. Let me also say good afternoon to all our viewers. For me, I think that the general atmosphere and the general reaction of most citizens give cause for us to say, you know what, let's tarry a bit slowly, let's go a bit gently, let's do a bit review, let's find out just what is in this for us. Because at the end of the day, leaders must represent the aspiration, the collective aspiration of citizens.
Right.
And it is true that, yes, indeed, leaders are always in the best place to really know the extent of our challenge. And for security reasons, we may not always, as citizens, be privy to everything. But when something looks not too good, it looks not too good. And we cannot belabor the point at all. So for me, I think the government has to do a lot of things. And as the president prepares to address the nation, as a mother, as a citizen, I think I just need 3 key things from the president. I need clarity, I need justification, I need reassurance. Now, clarity in the sense that it is important for the president to explain in speech what broad policy framework is guiding Ghana's foreign policy and Ghana's dealings with other nations. So we want that kind of clarity. What is our foreign policy? What kinds of things or relationships do we work to establish with other nations? Are we still a non-aligned nation, properly so-called? What has guided the ways in which we have worked with other nations in the past collectively to solve our shared security needs? We need that clarity. And as the president gives us that clarity, we would also want to find out from him what our security needs assessment have been, if any at all have been done. Of course, I recognize the fact that the president cannot, as a matter of national security, put out whatever it is that he knows to be our security needs as a country within a sub-region which is quite unstable. We know he can't give us all the details, but we want to understand whether or not there's been some need assessment, which will then now lead to my question about justification, which will then now justify why this current government decided to extend previous engagements that we have had with, the U.S. in the form and manner in which we now are told and have come to see this new relationship will progress. So we need for him to explain and justify for us the terms as we read, whether or not some of these things were done in the past. We want to find out from the president what he makes of the deal and whether or not all the information available to him, he believes as a sovereign state, this deal is to and in our best interest as a state called Ghana.
Well, Shamima, both you and Bilkis seem to be on one side here. And quite frankly, it appears that a lot of people in the country at the moment seem to be on this side. But let me ask, what really are you afraid of? I mean, really?
I don't think it's about fear for me.
Okay.
I think it is just about a state being in full control of its destiny. I think that every nation has a right, and I would say that we need to take the advice of America's leaders themselves. I was in a meeting with President Barack Obama, and I asked him a direct question, what kind of partnerships they seek from Africa, and the president told them whether or not such partnerships can never be equitable, given the fact that we are not equal in terms of our strength and our might. The president was candid in 2010 with me. He said he's been voted by the people of America to seek first the interests of America at all times. And such should be the goal of every leader, including the leaders of our respective countries.
Right.
But he does not see that Ghana's needs or Africa's needs and America's needs clash. He thought that we were in a symbiotic kind of partnership where America provides certain drugs, certain technologies, certain equipment that Africa benefits from, and Africa provides markets for those who. So we are in a symbiotic relationship, he says. So for me, I don't think it's about fear with this deal. We just want to know that history is not repeating itself, as we have been reminded history often likes to do.
Okay.
We just want to be assured and reassured, and that's the third arm of my demand from our president or request from the president this evening. We need that reassurance that we have thought through deeply about this deal and other deals. This might not only be something that we're doing with America. This might just be the same things we do with every other nation, because if we are saying a Ghana beyond aid, we are talking about self-sufficient Ghana in charge of designing its own destiny.
Right.
So we need reassurance that we have thought through this deal and we know that we are not going to be shortchanged as a country.
And it's good enough to go. Shamima, hold on for me briefly. Let me come back to Bilkis, because you have 3 children. How many boys?
2 boys.
2 boys. You have 2 boys and a girl. Have they asked you questions about this?
They are too young.
They're too young?
Yes, very young. My first is 6 and the last is 2.
Okay. So you get the impression that they've not really heard what's happening, or even if they have, they don't understand?
They haven't heard anything like
they haven't
that. Because
heard.
they haven't asked me anything pertaining to that.
To that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm wondering, Shamima, have your kids asked you anything about this, or have you had any kids at all asking you about this?
Well, no, not directly. Like Bilkis, my kids are just 4, 3, and 1, and 4. So
oh dear.
Perhaps they really do not know, what's happening. All they know is that mommy likes listening to news, and they always tell me that, well, news is good because mommy says if you listen to news, you become a great person.
So they just keep listening, but they don't really seem to understand. But I want to find out what your sentiments are. You mentioned that as a mother, these are your expectations: clarity, justification, and reassurance. But what are your sentiments as a mother? Your kids are very young, but they're going to grow, and if this deal. Right, and if this deal, stands, you may have some sentiments about the future of your children perhaps is going to look like.
Well, I think this deal is just a reflection of the conversations we have been having since independence, that although many African nations have secured political independence, they haven't really secured their economic independence, as in the agencies of their states having been fully operationalized, as in political independence has not really delivered the kind of progressive societies that will meet the basic needs of the majority of its citizens. We've had these conversations. I mean, I sit in class where we have been shown how global governance institutions only seek to perpetuate the existing global power structures, the East against the West and the poor southern states. It's still what it is. That our structure as a country, as a continent, hasn't remarkably changed since we got political independence. So we are saying that we want to be a self-sustaining, self-sufficient nation. We want to then look at all the ways in which that cannot happen.
Okay.
And the way in which we are yoked into the global economy continues to make us hewers of water and hewers of wood and drawers of water. We are still primary recipients of finished products and exporters of primary products. Our resources are still not controlled, owned, and managed by us.
Right.
And of course, we know the levers of power. It is military, it is oil, it's been cocoa, and whoever is controlling and owning the narratives around
they're basically in charge of the country.
Control your nation. So it's about identity and self-belief. Racism is still a big issue in most Western states. In fact, the African is still very much not come to his own self in terms of the dignity the African must feel in owning and being a true African.
Right.
So of the things that continue to subjugate us, whether it's
I'm losing you, Shamima, there, but I believe that you're saying this to on the back of the identity for you as a mother and someone who is thinking and have sentiments about the future of your children. You're looking at it from a purely identity perspective, which is a very profound one. Shamima, I may have to hold you on briefly. I have Ernesto Yeboah. He's the leader of the Economic Fighters League. He led a group of people actually to Parliament. They tried to, put some sort of pressure on parliamentarians, and they had such a bad day, I must say. But they did get into Parliament, by the way. Ernesto, thank you very much. You've just fallen into a conversation that we're trying to make very female biased. Let me quickly take your expectation on President Akufo-Addo's address tonight.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to you and to my sister Shamima. Of course, to the people of Ghana as well. Our expectation is nothing short of an apology from the president in the manner that they have handled this issue. The total disrespect and disregard, and the assumption that every Ghanaian who raises the slightest concern must be a member of the NDC.
Politicization of the matter.
It's a politicization of the matter. In fact, Joy, your station spoke to some ordinary American citizens about what they thought about the agreement. And their conclusion was that there was nothing in there for the people of Ghana. Should we say they are also NDC? In the very least, one would have thought that this is a president or an individual who campaigned on the basis of change. And for that reason, I'm not going to continue with the senseless agreement that was signed by the past administration.
So you are expecting an apology. Is that all?
Not just that.
Right.
But for them to be referring to the 1998 agreement and 2015 agreement, makes a total nonsense of why the people of Ghana voted for them, in the first place.
Right.
We expect that the president would announce an immediate withdrawal from this, agreement.
Okay.
Or, subject to a form of, a referendum, so that the people of Ghana can then decide whether they want to fall under American colonialism or not, just like what has happened in other civilized countries. See what happened with, UK on the Brexit. Because the political leadership in that country has maximum respect for the people. What happened? They brought it to them, and then they answered in a referendum.
So you think that the president has disrespected the people if, for example, your expectations tonight are not met in his address?
Well, we are not, going to be disappointed because the president may not have met our expectations. I'm sure the national security is serving the president well. I'm sure the IGP is serving the president well. And I'm sure they are reading the mood and the tensions rising in the country. The whole country is angry. They have not succeeded in diverting attention from the real issues. The issue right from day one in this country has been about the national sovereignty, the sovereignty of our country. Whether we wanted independence or we did not want independence.
Right.
And how some people sought to derail the attempt for Ghana to win its independence.
Well,
so I don't want to believe that Nana-Addo would want to put himself in that fire line of history where the sovereignty of our nation is about to slip down the line.
And Esther, thank you so much for your contribution. Let's continue with the all-female thing and wrap it up. Shamima, I've spoken to you quite a lot. Let me bring Bilkis in quickly. Bilkis, you've heard the expectations that people have. Shamima talks about clarity, justification, and reassurance. Ernesto speaks about apology, an immediate withdrawal, referendum, for example. If these things don't happen, and the president comes and talks, basically pushes, his way through, like what we've seen in Parliament, it was ratified. The president comes and said, well, I think this is a good deal, even if you think it's not, I think it's a good deal. How will you feel, and what will be your expectations going forward?
That means there are going to be so much problems for the people of Ghana. One of the problems is going to have is that we are going to probably pump a lot of money into the security system for security's sake and maybe for counter-terrorism's sake. You understand?
How are we going to do that? Because the Americans say they're going to help the country. I mean, they bring their military base here or whatever it is. They bring their military personnel here, try to set up a base where they can deploy, etc. I mean, that should help us.
But in other countries that we've had this arrangement, there have been terrorist attacks. We haven't had it here. So in a situation like this, we'll have to pump in more so that we will not be attacked. You understand? That will be at the expense of social social funding.
And you don't think that the Americans can support the country in dealing with the terrorism threat?
Before this arrangement, we've had the Millennium Challenge, Millennium Development,
right?
Yeah, Millennium, the MIDA thing, the construction
the
of. They've been giving us a lot of money and all that, and I don't see how $20 million is going to help us in any way, because it's so much late. It's so little money for us to.
So little for so
help
much.
Us in any security. It's too little.
So assuming the money was big enough, will that suffice?
No, it won't suffice. It won't at all, because it's going to be at the expense of other social activities like education and health and others. Because more money is going to be in this. The Americans are going to be at our airports. The Americans are going to be at our airports because they believe that their safety is like #1 for them. So this is going to pose a whole lot of problems to Ghanaians.
Okay. You think that will be very problematic? We'll see if the president will have that sort of justification and whether or not he'll give the Ghanaians such assurance. Shamima, if you're still with us, let me take your very final words, and then I'm going to do some social media. Okay, so Shamima is gone, but her point is made quite clearly. Let's do some social media comment, and I'll bring you the thoughts of her mother, who also sent us a WhatsApp video. She's a chartered accountant, but as a mother, she says she's concerned about what the implications of such an agreement will have for her children in future. What are people saying on Facebook? What do you expect the president to say about the deal? That's the question, the big question. At this point, the multi-million-dollar question. Some responses here. Howard Harry says, Masa, even if you cancel or not, we ain't going to vote for you coming 2020. That's all. Okay, Moses Hoto says the deal should be renegotiated to suit the interest of Ghanaians, period. And I see Bill Case nodding here on that. Suleiman Yakub says, unfortunately, he won't say what we expect him to say. He'll say what his party people want him to say. After all, he chopped the money finish. Well, we don't know if he chopped any money finish. Obed Amina Anina says the whole truth, nothing but the truth. That's your expectation. Ahiave is really expecting nothing. Ahiave Kwesi Isaac says nothing. Kweku Saforo says defend it and attempt to equalize it with similar deals by the previous administration, which sort of boils down to what we're talking about when it comes to the politicization. Of the matter case. Homeku Williams says, let him tell Ghanaians that I am tired. Okay. Well, I'm not sure he'll say that. Evans Fantastic says, just cancel the deal because he told us we shouldn't be spectators but citizens. Now we are citizens. Mr. President, hear our voices. We need jobs, not USA military base. Evans Amankona says nothing better. I beg your pardon, nothing better as he goes with his majority. What do you expect from him? So your expectations are quite low. Nick Sofori said they should bring them cry. You are wasting time. If it wasn't my stubborn grandfather who didn't go during the slave trade, like right now, I am moving with Jay-Z and Puff Daddy. Okay, that's your thoughts. Okay, Lawrence Frimpol says, tell the military to go away. They have no business there at all. Let me take the final thoughts, and then I'll come back to you, Bill Case. Let's see if you have any wrap-up comment. But I need to play you that video, that WhatsApp video that was sent through to us by a mother. Kwekusa Kode says, the first day I saw Akufo-Addo chewing his tongue and running about of words when he was swearing. Okay, well, I'm not quite getting the making sense of what you've written, but he says, now looking at him, the same mistakes that Mahama did. now looking at him, the same mistakes that Mahama did is what he is repeating, and his own is worse. Chia, thank God I have decided to vote for Pakwesi Indian. Gifty DM says, I don't know, waiting to hear from him. So you have no expectations at all. You just want to wait and hear what he says. Livingston Mona says, nothing, just nothing. Odate goes on to say, you came to serve the people and not to rule. And the people say no, so cancel it. Shamima, I have you back on the line. Let me take your thoughts on these comments that people have shared. People don't seem to really have high expectations. Some people actually think that it should be reviewed, it should be renegotiated. Some people think that, well, let's just hear the president out. We can't really be bothered of what he's going to say. Shamima, your quick and final thoughts.
I'm 80% confident that these public protestations will lead to much. But I'm afraid they may not. Because there's a reason why this deal, with all of its trappings and vexed matters, was passed through in the manner in which it was ratified in Parliament. And the reason was to get it done. And as we speak, I'm sure that the operation is full force. So I think that today, the best we can expect, as I said, was clarity, justification, and reassurance. Of course, if the president fails to convince all of us adequately about the need for this deal, then again, the jury will be out there. Then we'll know that maybe Ghana Beyond Aid is really a mirage that might not happen any time, soon. And of course, maybe the government would then be willing and able to live with the consequence of that decision if they actually believe that this decision and this deal is to the best interest of our nation. And that's the kind of reassurance that we need. Okay. Sometimes leaders have to take difficult decisions that they believe are in the interest of the majority because perhaps they are in a position of information that we are not. I hope that Ghana is not sitting on the brink of something dangerous which justifies the need to have this kind of collaboration. I hope our sub-region is not about to face any serious threat of destabilization which justifies the need for this. I hope, for the sake of all of us, that this deal is truly to the best interest of our nation, our sub-region, our continent. I hope, and I can only, at this time, given the state of things that are happening currently.
Shamima, thank you so much for your thoughts. I'm sure that tomorrow, well, this evening after you've heard the president, I'm sure you have a lot of reaction, and I am sure I will come back to you for those reactions.
Thank
Shamima.
you very much. And let me just add that, the excessive politicization is the bane of our underdevelopment.
Similar sentiments that Bill Case here was sharing earlier.
Too much. All right.
But really, Shamima, is there a better way of dealing with this in this country? As we have come to know, everything runs along the lines of NDC and NPP.
And NDC and NPP needs to know that there's only an extent to which this can continue to go. Because eventually, if you disenfranchise and you disillusion a section of the society and they get tired of being so tired about your continuous politicization, which is not delivering the jobs that they need, they will rise up against you. And perhaps that is when they'll sit up and listen, because young people can't be taken for granted for too long. They will get tired. Eventually, the numbers are increasing. And that's one of the destabilizing factors that has been identified for Africa. Young, unemployed, angry and hungry people, they will become the destabilizing force of any nation that fails to recognize that it is important they focus on doing the right things and not cheap political equalization and excessive politicization, which is failing to deliver jobs and the economic progress that they often preach when they are in opposition. Okay,
I look forward to what your members or members in ALMA will say after the president's address. Right. address tonight. Should we expect some sort of a demonstration from you, from Alma as well?
We'll discuss it on the platform and we'll come out with a position.
Very well. Shamima Muslim Al-Hassan there. She is the convener of the Alliance for Women in Media. I have here in the studio Bilkis with me. We're still having a conversation. Now, Bilkis, let me take quickly your thoughts on the comments, the comment that I just read. I'm sure you were fascinated by some of them. I'll take your comment. But when I finish taking her comments on that, I'll tell you about the military base in Germany. You had a lot of attributes. You hear politicians sometimes make arguments and then they bring that in. In fact, the Americans themselves will tell you that this is not the first time, this is not the first sort of arrangement we've had. We have some in almost, a whole lot of countries, and they'll mention Germany. I'll tell you what Germans think about it as well. But let me take your views on the comments.
Well, the comments on Facebook, I mean, that's what young people normally do. Though it was being said in a very witty manner, it was still conveying a particular sentiment.
Did it resonate with how you feel?
Yeah, it resonates with how everybody, I mean, let's say 90%.
You can't say everybody.
Yeah, let's say 90% or 80% of Ghanaians are feeling right now, because seriously, nobody wants to give up her or his sovereignty. Nobody.
But that's when you have really come to the conclusion that your sovereignty is being invaded.
You know, when America is in your country, they always want to make sure their citizens in your country are well protected. So that means these people are going to swarm our airports. They are going to be checking people.
But isn't that an exaggeration when we say that? I mean, that's beginning to sound like Hassan Ayariga, who is saying that they're going to marry your fathers. And really, when you do that, people think that you are, I mean, it's such an exaggeration. They can't believe it. I mean, how can they swamp our airports, really?
Exaggeration? The bombing of the two towers in America, with all its security. 9/11. With all the security, it still happened in America. With all their sophisticated gadgets. How about Ghana? Do we have anything like that? We don't have. So they are going to make sure that their people are going to be well protected. And for that matter, they are going to frustrate a lot of people at the airports and frustrate borders. And although we are going to have some benefits, because they are going to train our military, we are going to have like shared intelligence with Americans. I mean, they have it. So when something bad is going to happen, at least they are going to hear of it and try to protect us in a way, because they have their citizens here. But what's unfortunately,
you think that if it gets to protection of Ghanaians as against protection of Americans, then they'll protect the Americans to the detriment of Ghanaians, you say?
Oh, I don't know, but I would want them to be able to protect us. So we also have to have our security vamped up very well. You understand? But at the end of the day, America's foreign policy is always America first.
Okay. All right. Whilst we talk about America first, military base or not, so as I say, while we stay on this a little longer, our political correspondent with our partners, DW Thomas Sparrow, who speaks with me every Wednesday, has been sharing the Germany experience on the American military base in Ramstein, which of course has not escaped controversy either.
Cooperation in many areas, including obviously military cooperation, and one of the key examples of that military cooperation is precisely that base that you mentioned. If you look, for example, at statistics that were published in the United States, you will see that there are many U.S. duty personnel, soldiers here in the country. In fact, Germany is among the top 5 in the world of countries where the United States has an important military presence, and the base that we're talking about is called Ramstein. It has been used mostly as a stopover for troops that are going to the Middle East, but that obviously also has come hand in hand with controversy, because there are people here in Germany who have argued and who protested because of that, because they argue that not everything is crystal clear, that they're not sure that everything that is happening within that military base is known to the public. There have been reports here that that base played a very important role in the US drone war. There have also been reports reports that the base was used to store and deliver weapons to Syrian rebels, to very problematic issues here in Germany, issues that have led to politicians and to members of the public to protest against that base. So on the one hand, you can say that it's an important part of German-US cooperation, as I say, a long-standing cooperation. On the other hand, there have been protests about the presence of US military personnel here in Germany and what exactly is being done in places like that military base.
So that's Thomas Faraday, political correspondent with our partners DW. Bilkis, you were just telling me about how you feel that Niger, Mali, and all those other countries in the sub-region have attracted terrorist attacks because of their relationship with America when it comes to this sort of military arrangements. Hearing what this gentleman is saying about what's happening in Germany, I mean, they're not. It's not void of the controversies, the discussions that we're having.
Have the base there?
Yes, they have a base in Germany. I mean, Germany is they have the base. They're fine, even though it's attracted all those controversies. They're fine. It appears that they're able to, you know, negotiate their way with the Americans. Don't you feel that perhaps we're overreacting as a country, and that it's about time we gave ourselves a chance to feel this, you know?
The question is, what is in their contract? What's in their agreement with the Germans? With Canada also has that. Kenya also has it. And now this is what we are being told. We are being told that they are going to have an unfettered access in our space. So, and that means there is no way we are going to have any hold on them. They can do everything they want to do. So I think it has to do with the agreements. What do they have with the Germans? What do they have with, let's say, the Canadians? And what do they have with the Kenyans? And what do they have with the Ghanaians? Okay. What we are hearing is something that we won't have any control over. And we are a developing country. So
you think they're going to bully their way through?
That is it.
But we've always had this relationship with America, a mutually respectful relationship with America. Our governments, the two governments, should be able to sit down and decide that this is how we do things. Even though we have in the agreement, we're giving you some sort of access, we still have to agree on how we go about this access.
Exactly.
And that will
That's
work.
why I said from the beginning that, is it reviewable?
Okay.
Or is it something that we have to scrap and maybe restart everything? So if they are giving us examples of bases in other countries, fine. What is in ours? We are thinking of our own. What is in ours? We really need to know the details so that we will know whether to keep it, review it, or maybe scrap it all, or scrap it off outrightly.
Completely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm wrapping up this conversation. Let me just go through quickly one or two messages here. Mohammed Awal said, I expect him to call for collateral consultation with other political parties to make collateral consultation? Well, I'm not sure about that. But with other political parties to make their inputs to enhance the deal so that it will be beneficial to us all. James H.E. Serrano said, you expect the president to simply talk. Mohammed Musa says, just cancel the deal. Kofi Beho, address without action. Many address to the nation, but you are concerned that just talk and no action at all. To terminate the deal, Adwa Oponwa says, Django Musa says that he has withdrawn. Okay, you want him to withdraw the U.S. agreement. Emmanuel Bulli says, when I hear people say we have to thank the president for bringing this deal to our notice, I wonder if they really think at all. Was it for fanfare or really wanted to know our opinions on it? We were better off in the dark than to bring it out to our notice and show us total disrespect. We know you sign it anyway, but address some of the key concerns Ghanaians are raising in this deal. Who even signs a deal with a wicked country as U.S.? Oh, really? Come on. And who will not mind using Marshall Islanders to experiment in nuclear weapon radiation effect? I'm not quite sure about that information, though. Tofik Asuma says, I don't expect the president to tell what his ministers and spokespersons has been saying already. We have heard it all. Okay, so you don't expect the president to repeat what the ministers have been saying, and you've equally heard Ghanaian responses, including NPP members who cannot critique it publicly, but definitely not enthused with it. So I believe you're going to say scrap it or review it. You guys started this whole confusion, so okay. So this is Matthew Nana Bedu. Matthew, I don't know if you say you guys, you mean Joy News. Says you guys started this whole confusion, so I would rather we wait and listen to what the president will say himself. Thanks, but no. Okay. Adam Zakaria expects new promises. Ahmed Aseidu says he's only going to sing praises of Donald Trump. And is it Deuces says King Promise. You're calling the president King Promise. So in less than 4 hours, we should be hearing the president on this matter. I'm wrapping up. Bilkis, your final words?
Well, I wouldn't.
Would you be disappointed, for example? I mean, if the president comes and says that, well, it is not reviewable, we've done this agreement, we're moving forward with it, maybe when it's ended in whatever, how many years, we'll, look at it again. Will that make you disappointed?
I think the president, they should relook at the documents. The document really have to be looked at, because the details we are having, and really, it's not something that we should be hearing. Okay. So we really need the president to relook at it. Okay. We know he can listen to us, and there's something can be done. I mean, it's just an agreement. Right. It can be something. So he should relook at it and address the problems that can. We won't ask for it to be scrapped for not knowing anything that's in it. So we will rather he looks at it and review it, if possible.
Okay. Well, everybody's saying review it. We don't know exactly what people want taken out and exactly what people want added. But let's wait.
With Kenya, like for instance, in Kenya, when an American soldier
commits a crime, for example, or does something wrong,
he was going to be tried in Kenya. It won't be taken.
That's what the Kenyan document says?
That's how the Kenyan document, some parts of the Kenyan document is. So with that, is it like that in Ghana's own? I don't think. Could we do something like, we should do something about it. We have to look at it. That's all. Okay.
Well, I've been waiting for that WhatsApp video. I actually had it, but I don't know. It appears that it's not ready at the moment for us to play. Perhaps we can do that after sport, because Gary Al-Smith is standing by. But if you walk away from this conversation, don't forget that some of the things that people are expecting, and this is from Shamima's perspective, which actually encompasses all the thoughts that people have expressed. Clarity, justification, reassurance from the president. She also wants to have an idea. What is our broader foreign policy when it comes to dealing with other countries? Well, for Ernesto, says the president must apologize and there has to be an immediate withdrawal. If not, let's go for a referendum. Those are his thoughts. Bilkis Giwa has been my guest in the studio. Bilkis, thank you so much for coming. She's a blogger. She likes to be addressed as a equity feminist. An equity feminist. I was also joined on the line by Shamima Muslim Al Hassan, who is the convener of the Alliance for Women in Media.